Howdy folks, Monty here, and in this video we're going to be going over tanking strategies for Neltharion's Lair. Neltharion's Lair is a 4-boss 5-man and is again one of the easier 5-mans, so it's something you're going to be running a lot for, bonus chest and +2, +3 Mythic. The first boss in Neltharion's Lair is Mora. Mora is honestly very straightforward, is almost a tank and spank. You're going to want to face him away from the raid so that they don't take damage when he does Razor Shards. Razor Shards is just an AoE that's going to deal damage in a cone and then leave Crystalline Ground. The Crystalline Ground, if you're moving while in it, is going to deal damage to the whole party, so just stay still during that point. The next thing you're going to have to worry about is Shatter. Shatter is going to deal AoE in an area that is going to be fairly obvious. Make sure you stay out of it. And then as you're damaging him, he's going to be summoning little skitters that are going to die fairly quickly, but are also going to leave choking dust when they die. You want to make sure that you're not standing in the choking dust. All that said, like I said, he's basically a tank and spank boss. Be aware of those few mechanics and you'll be fine. The next boss is Ularong Crag Shaper. Ularong is only really going to deal one ability that you're going to have to watch for as a tank, and that is Sunder. Just make sure you're using your active mitigation to prevent as much of that damage as possible, and your healers will thank you. He's going to be dealing AoE damage throughout the fight. Make sure you're not standing in it, but the biggest mechanic of this is Stance of the Mountain. At certain intervals in the fight, he's going to transform himself into a bellowing idol, along with the 4 bellowing idols that he has summoned, and they're going to be moving around. They'll move, I believe it's 5 times. While this is happening, there's AoE damage you're going to need to be standing out of, and once the bellowing idols stop moving, you're going to have to find the one that he is in, DPS it down, help your DPS break it. Once it's broken, he's going to come up, be stunned for a slight, a second or two, and then is going to keep going through the fight. So it's a shell game. You're going to want to watch where he's at and make sure that you're not having to fight multiple totems before you break him out, especially if you're trying to beat timers on Mythic Plus. This can be a problem if you have to break multiple totems. It's just a big waste of time. The third boss is Meraxis. Meraxis is a punk. He's going to be dealing a lot of AoE disease damage that you're going to want to try to avoid, but make sure you're standing in melee range of him as all time, as if you're not, he's going to be doing Frenzy, and it increases attack speed and physical damage. The next thing that's going to happen, the biggest thing you're going to want to watch for, is Spiked Tongue. The boss is going to, it's a fairly long cast Spiked Tongue against the tank, which will latch onto the tank and start pulling you towards the boss. If you get to the boss is going to eat you and get a large damage buff and also deal a ton of damage to you. Higher level Mythic Plus, or if you're not geared, this is going to kill you. Even if you are geared, it's going to deal significant damage and make your healers' lives much harder. So how you deal with this is your DPS and healers are going to be targeted by AoE disease damage that they're going to want to move out of, but are going to leave pools. What's going to happen is, as you're being pulled back by Spiked Tongue, if you're in one of these pools, it's going to significantly slow the rate at which you're pulled. So when Spiked Tongue starts to be cast, run as far away as you can and make sure you're in the path of one of these pools. That way Spiked Tongue will pull you into it and you'll slow down and hopefully not be eaten. You have to be careful here because it is very often that you'll be lined up on one of these pools, and as soon as you're pulled into it, it's going to despawn and then you're yanked into the boss. So make sure you've got some defensive cooldowns as a backup plan. The final boss is Darkwall the Under King. Darkwall has a couple abilities you're going to watch out for. This is a very tank heavy fight. If you're tanking this well, this is going to seem very easy. If you're not tanking this well, it's going to be a problem. One of the things about this fight is the more the boss moves, the more damage the party takes. Every time he moves, it's going to deal AoE damage to everybody. So you want to keep him kind of still. The problem there is he's going to have abilities that are going to knock you back. First of all, Landslide, which is going to do not a whole lot of damage, but is going to knock you back a decent amount. You're going to want to run to him quickly. That way he doesn't have to move to you too much. Second up is Molten Crash. Molten Crash is going to deal moderate damage to you, but is going to deal additional damage and knock you back a fairly decent amount if you haven't recently used your active mitigation. So make sure that you keep up, if you're a Death Knight like me, you keep up Death Strike to where right before Molten Crash you can hit it and not worry about it. Know what your active mitigation abilities are and make sure you're using them during this fight. He's going to be summoning an ad that the DPS is going to want to kill. You're going to want to ignore that ad. So long as the DPS is doing their job, you're never going to have to worry about it. The final ability you want to watch for is Magma Wave. Magma Wave is going to be a cast that's going to start off at fairly moderate damage and end up at very high damage to anybody who's not in cover. The way to take cover during this is the crystal spikes that he's been spawning through the fight. You're going to want to go and stand so that the spike is between you and the boss. If the DPS is doing their job, there should be a couple of spikes up. If not, and if they've been kiting the ad into the spikes are going to be destroyed and you're going to have a problem. But they should know what they're doing and you shouldn't have much of a problem. It's a pretty straightforward boss if everybody's doing their job. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe. Most of all, hit me with some comments. Let me know what tips and tricks you have for taking Neltharion's Lair. And thank you so much for watching.